Hello everyone, this is Shannon from That's So Po, and this is the start of a weekend reading vlog. Today is Friday, May 28th at about 7:30 p.m. and I am just in the mood to do a reading vlog this weekend because it's a long weekend with Memorial Day on Monday off. So not really sure what I'm going to get up to this weekend, although the weather is incredibly nice. So hopefully Sush and I, my husband and I, will get out and do some hiking, as well as playing some games and definitely reading. I have a ton of books that I want to finish by Monday at the end of the month for my priority for May. I'll link below the TBR that I had for May for the Asian Readathon, but I have so many books still checked out that I want to get to, plus a bunch of things that aren't for that TBR at all that I also have checked out and want to get to. So we'll see what I end up reading. It's always a little bit of a unknown for me because I check out way more things than I ever manage to get to. And for tonight, I will just give you some clips as I do things. I think Sush and I are about to play a little bit of Gloomhaven, which is kind of like D&D in a box. We're in the middle of a scenario right now, so I think we're going to play that out before dinner, and then we'll see if I get some reading in this night before tomorrow, and maybe we'll go on a hike. So I will check in with you guys probably tomorrow morning. Good morning, everyone. It is now 10 a.m. on Saturday, May 29th, and I just wanted to do a check-in. Last night was a great Friday evening. Sush and I played some Gloomhaven. We had some carrot soup and grilled cheese sandwiches, and then I got to read a little bit more of Goodbye Vitamin by Rachel Khong, which is so good. I ended up reading from about 50 to 75% last night, and then this morning after breakfast, I ended up finishing it, and I just was so moved by the story. It is such a beautiful stream of consciousness style of journal entries of a woman over the course of a year as she has moved home to take care of her father, who is developing dementia, and is really reflecting on a lot of the nature of what's important in life and what memories are, and the way that she relates to her parents, her mom and her dad as an adult. And it's just so good, and it's got a lot of humor in it, and I just was so moved. This is such a great book. I'm so glad that I picked it up. I also, last night, Sush read as a bedtime story a little bit of Mike by P.G. Wodehouse, which is kind of a schoolboy cricket type story. It has some really ridiculous ridiculous scenes that made it maybe not the best bedtime story last night because I was laughing too much. But even so, we read a little bit. And then this morning I also started Spy X Family by Tatsuya Endo. And this is something that I'd heard about from Reija at the Book Finch, who I will link below. They always have the best manga recommendations. So Spy X Family is a really very funny sort of family/spy manga. It is set in a world that's kind of like a different version of the Cold War, maybe East and West Berlin. And we have a spy who needs to infiltrate sort of a school. And so he gets an adopted daughter to act as his daughter and sort of convinces another woman to act as his wife so that they're a family so that he can infiltrate this school. But what he doesn't know is that his daughter is a telepath and his wife is an assassin. And it is ridiculous. It has a ton of action. I love how absurd it is. And it's just really fun and sweet so far. So I'm thoroughly enjoying it. So my day has gotten off to a good start. Right now, Sish and I are about to head out. We're going to go for a little bit of a hike and then kind of goof off in the afternoon. And then in the early evening, I'm going to be doing a kind of collaborative video with one of my favorite other booktubers, Freddie at Sluggish Reader, who I will link below. We recently both read Ripples and Other Stories by Shih-Li, and so we're going to do a video discussing it because we both had so much fun with it. So that's kind of the plan for the day. I'll take some clips as we do things and keep you updated. Good morning, everyone. It is now about 10 a.m. on Sunday, May 30th, and I wanted to check in with you. So yesterday, after my last check-in, Sish and I went for a hike, which was so lovely. It's absolutely gorgeous and so green out right now. And then we came back, had a late lunch, and just really rested for a little, reading some more. I finished Spy X Family Volume 1 by Tatsuya Endo, translated by Casey Lowe, and it was such a fun manga. I loved the absurdity, just so many fun things happened, lots of great action. It was just such a fun ride. Definitely recommend that. I also read a little bit of Saigon by Phuc Tran, which is a memoir that is about a boy who came to, I think, Pennsylvania when he was a young child as a refugee from Vietnam in the 70s with his parents, and kind of his experience growing up there, and really talking a lot about generational trauma as well. But it's got a very, very funny writing style, and it's just really, really engaging. So I'm thoroughly enjoying that. I've been reading it for a week or two and just read a little bit more last night. And then after that, I had a kind of video chat to record a collaboration video with my friend Freddie from Sluggish Reader. Link him below. We both recently finished Ripples by Shih-Li and loved it, and so we did a discussion video. That'll be up on his channel in a week or two. Once it's up, I'll talk about it in one of my weekly reading wrap-ups and link it there. But that was so much fun. It's our first collaboration video we've done together, and I love Freddie's channel. Definitely check him out if you haven't already. And then in the evening, Sush and I cooked, so we made shakshuka, which is like a Mediterranean dish with tomatoes and cumins and egg and feta, and it's something that we absolutely love. And while I prepped the food, Sush read to me from A Master of Djinn by Djèlí Clark. We love Djèlí Clark, and so we wanted to read this new release of his out loud, which means it'll take us a while to get through it, but it's so good so far. We're right in the beginning. So that was yesterday. It was a lot of fun. Oh, and Sush read me a little bit more of Mike by PG Wodehouse as a bedtime story, but I fell asleep almost immediately, so nothing new to report there. And then today, this morning, I have already recorded some BookTube videos, like weekly wrap-ups, that sort of thing. So I am about to go and edit that. And then after that, I think that our day is pretty wide open. We'll probably just read a bit, maybe play some more Gloomhaven, cook a couple of things. Sush went grocery shopping yesterday, so we've got some things to make that I'm really excited about, including a new recipe. So if we make that, I'll tell you all about it. But I will check in with you guys later, maybe later tonight or tomorrow morning, and tell you what we've been up to. Good morning, everyone. It is now Monday, May 31st at about 11 a.m. So I wanted to check in again, catch you up on what I did yesterday and kind of what today's looking like. So yesterday, after I checked in, I handled editing videos, we had lunch, we read some, played some more of Gloomhaven. We finished a scenario that we were in the middle of, and it was a really tough one, but we managed to get through it, and that felt so good. I also made a new recipe, which was sort of a ginger snap and lime no-bake cheesecake that I heard about from Laurane Reading, and I'll link her video below. She's doing the Invisible Cities project, and so this was a recipe that she'd found from Barbados. I did not have mascarpone cheese, but we were able to get some cream cheese and like heavy cream to substitute, but I don't know if mascarpone is a little bit sweeter. I did not add sugar to it, and maybe I should have. I have done a different no-bake cheesecake recipe before from Chef John at Food Wishes. I'll link that below, and that one I really, really loved, so I think that I should have added the sugar. In any case, it was an interesting attempt, but I think I would tweak it a little bit more the next time I do it if I can't get a hold of the mascarpone cheese. Let's see, what else? So the books that I read yesterday, I read a couple of different things. So I read some more of Saigon, which is just such a great memoir so far. I really like the author's writing style. He is clearly somebody who loves the classics, and I don't know why it took me so long. I'm like 40% into the book, but all of the chapters are named after the title of a famous work of literature, and he weaves that analysis, kind of connection to that work of literature to what's going on in his life. The most recent chapter that I just read was called Pygmalion, and in Pygmalion, which is what the movie My Fair Lady is based off of, there is a low kind of class woman who a rich guy decides to train to speak like she's high class and pass her off in high society. And the chapter that is in that, Phuc Tran is in middle school and trying to enter like a group of cooler kids and trying to pass himself off as cool. And so I love that way that he connects literature with his own experiences in life. And it's really, really well written. It's got a lot of like trigger warnings. There's a lot of trauma that he's gone through growing up, but it is just very well written. So I read a little bit of that, and then I read Here by Richard McGuire, which is a graphic work that I'm pretty sure I heard about from Rincey at Rincey Reads, so I will link her below. This is something that has a really interesting form. So it is, the whole book is showing the exact same scene, so the exact same location throughout time. So it's showing kind of like a living room in a house, but it's showing it throughout time, mainly in the 18th, 19th, 20th, and 21st centuries, but sometimes going further back and further forward, and with little boxes from different time periods, multiple of them on the same page, showing what was going on in that location at different points in time, and focusing on things like different themes like joy or love or anger, these sorts of things. So it's a really interesting book, but I also felt like the concept was what was interesting, and it was like 300 pages long. I kind of got the concept after page 20, and so then it just felt like it dragged a bit. But it was very interesting in the way that it was done. Then I also read quite a bit of, I don't know what it's called, but The Wonderful Life of Mucha, something like that. And I forget who wrote it too. But it is this beautiful art book that is so, so gorgeous. Sush had gotten this for me quite a while ago. We'd been to an art museum and saw this there, and I was in love with it because Mucha was really a big person in the Art Nouveau movement at the turn of the century in Paris, and I just love that art style. So he got me this book, which is in Japanese, but it has some translations into English for maybe like a third to half of the content. So all of the big sections explaining about Mucha's life are translated, but there's lots of other things that are not translated. So basically all of the sort of captions for all of the images explaining what they are, that's not translated. There's some timelines that aren't translated, some maps, etc. And I think the reason why I hadn't picked this up was because I do read Japanese. And so I think in my mind I thought, oh, I'll just read it, I'll read all the Japanese bits too. But the truth is that this is like beyond my reading level. I read at maybe second grade level in Japanese, and this is an adult work. It's a nonfiction work. And if you know anything about Japanese, Japanese has a mixture of a syllabary, which is how you pronounce things, and kanji, which are characters that have meaning, but you don't necessarily know the pronunciation right away. And in manga, which is what I normally read in Japanese, they have something called furigana, which uses the syllabary to show you how to pronounce the kanji. But adult works don't do that, and my Japanese is not good enough to not need those. So, and my vocabulary is more about the everyday stuff, not about nonfiction about art. So I realized I need to just read the English parts and look at the pretty pictures and forget about the grand visions of practicing Japanese, because clearly I'm not prioritizing that, and I really want to read this book. So anyway, point is, I'm about halfway through it, and it is so cool. The artwork is just gorgeous. I'll see if I can find some pictures of Mucha's works and link them below, because wow, it's just gorgeous. I really, really loved it. So I want to read more of that today. And I think that's the only things that I read. Other than that, yesterday we also cooked. So we made some what is it called? Roasted cauliflower and pea chutney from Priya Krishna's book, Indianish. It is a great cookbook. I really like a lot of those recipes, and this is one of our favorites from it, but we haven't made it in a little while, so it was really nice to make. And I feel like that's pretty much it. I can't remember doing anything else yesterday. I also, this morning, after breakfast, went on a walk in the nature preserve park that's across the street from us. I go there most mornings and I absolutely love it. Right now it's like really entering into summer, absolutely gorgeous, so green. So that's just such a great way to start off the morning. And I've also been catching up on some BOOKTUBE. So now I'm going to go ahead and get in some more reading. Today is Memorial Day, so it's a holiday in the US, and I just want to spend all of today goofing off, reading books, playing maybe more Gloomhaven. I think Sush is gonna cook us a curry later on today, so I think it'll be good. And I will get some clips in for you and probably check in later on tonight to close out this vlog. Okay, everyone, so it is about 8:30 p.m. now on Monday, May 31st, so I'm going to go ahead and close out this vlog. Today actually ended up being kind of a ton of reading, which was great. I had a bunch of books that I wanted to get to, and I got to a number of them. Not all, but a number of them. So this morning after I checked in with you, I finished The World of Mucha, which was really cool. If you like Art Nouveau, I definitely recommend that book. Just such beautiful pictures. If you don't read Japanese, the English translation is really only a third of what was in there. I didn't bother to read the Japanese, and I still found it very valuable because a lot of it is really just understanding who Mucha was and getting to look at all the pretty art. It was just a gorgeous art book. Then I also finished Saigon by Phuc Tran, which I thought was a great memoir, just really well written, very moving in terms of his experiences in growing up very much out of place in his small town in Pennsylvania and trying to figure out who he was. It's that classic coming of age story. And I just thought it was really, really good. It was very heartfelt, very funny, had a real good sense of like literary stuff. I guess he's a teacher of Latin and loves classics, so it makes sense. And also punk. He was into punk and has that punk aesthetic of very much, rejecting certain things. So I really enjoyed that memoir. And then I just finished The Hen Who Dreamed She Could Fly by Sunmi Hwang. And this is a book that I heard about from Freddie at Sluggish Reader. I will link his review of it below. This is a story where all of the characters are barnyard animals, and there is a chicken who lays eggs in a coop, but the eggs are always taken away from her, and she feels very listless and doesn't really have purpose in life. She wants to raise a baby, but her eggs are always taken away from her. And so it's kind of about her journey into trying to have a baby and trying to do some things that are not the typical path in life. So a lot of this book is about her bucking the system and her following her own path, even though it's a very difficult one. There's a lot of really good things in this, probably a lot to unpack. It's a very short novel. I don't think that I got necessarily all of it. I did like a lot of the themes, but I wasn't that engaged. And also I'm not sure if the theme of kind of motherhood and sacrificing everything for motherhood is exactly my style. Even so, I gave this 3.5 stars. So definitely a good book. And I think that probably for other people who are better at reading more deeply than I am, a good book. But yeah, this ended up being a really good end to the month of May. I got a ton of books read that I had been wanting to read, and that just makes me very happy. So I hope that you guys have enjoyed this vlog. If you have read any of the books that I've talked about, if you have any thoughts, any recommendations, anything at all, just go ahead and leave me a comment down below.